Hi, welcome back. It's nice and quiet now. The kids have gone to bed, so I thought I'd talk you through our hen house. I built the hen house with a bit of help and the dome just almost a year ago. We've got four chickens in there at the moment who are doing pretty well, enjoying themselves. And I thought I'd give you a quick run through of 5 things we did well and 5 things we didn't do quite so well. Hopefully these tips will be useful to you and possibly even inspirational when it comes to building your own hen house. So first things first, I'll take you through the 5 good things about our hen house. First of all, the design. It's on stilts. I don't know if you could see that very well, but it's raised up to give or take waist height, and the idea behind that is to give the hens that little bit of extra protection against Mr. Fox. It also, our second good point, has the knock-on effect of meaning that all the nesting boxes round the back are at a much more convenient height than if they were down at the ground. So that works really well. The next great feature we've got, we can see over above my head, it's got a green roof on there. We've used these green roof tiles, so there's 15 roof tiles on there, and each of the tiles contains the sedum roof on the top, and underneath that both fertiliser and little things that almost look like egg boxes, which will contain a certain amount of water, together with some blobs of like clay stuff in there, which help retain the water and then slowly release it so the thing doesn't dry out. But even in the driest conditions, these things apparently last at least 6 weeks without a drop of rain before you need to worry about watering them. Apart from it being a really nice attractive feature to the hen house, it also keeps it surprisingly cool in the summer. Even on the hottest of days, the hen house seems to, keep off that worst of the sunlight, because the sun obviously is going down onto the roof up there and helps the hen house stay cool. Works really well. And of course, no one who comes to see our hen house fails to comment on the dome. It's pretty cool. I won't claim that we did all of it. These brackets here are from a company called Build with Hubs. You buy the kit and then you put the sticks together yourself. You cut them to length depending on how big you want the dome, and then obviously you build it. It's worked really well. It wasn't too expensive. And we've just wrapped the whole thing in chicken wire. The chicken wire is obviously buried under the ground as well, keep Mr. Fox out. And it's just a nice aesthetic feature. It obviously it's a lot more hassle than just putting a bit of fencing up, but it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more interesting, and we're really pleased with it. The other fun thing with having your own hen house is, of course, you've got to clean them out. So we thought, how can we make that a bit easier for ourselves? So what we've got on the front there is obviously some doors. You open those and you let yourselves in. But more importantly, down here, I don't know if you can see, there are a couple of trapdoors. So there are hinges there in the middle, and there are a couple of bolts. And all you do is you unlock the bolt, and the whole thing comes down. So you can see it's starting to trickle out. And all we do when we want to clean the hen houses out is we get a wheelbarrow, wheel the wheelbarrow underneath here, let this down, and all the muck and all the bedding just comes straight out. It makes it really easy. There's a lot less sweeping to do, and then all that can go on the compost. So on to 5 things we didn't do quite so well. Firstly, the door. It's an automatic door. I think it's by a company called VSB. I'll put in the link down in the description below. The door, most of the time, works very well. I was very careful to make a track in there which was the right size for the door, so there's very little rattle. I've even gone as far as to wax the groove, so the door slides in and out very nicely. However, the one thing I missed is when you've got damp weather, this doesn't get wet per se, but it just a little bit of moisture it means it grows slightly, and then it shrinks when it's dry again, but just that little bit of growth is enough for the door to stick. So I should have given a little bit more leeway for the door so it can go up and down more easily. Otherwise it works most of the time fine. Next little problem we've got is this roof. It looks really neat. Overall I've done a pretty good job. I'm quite happy with it. The one mistake I did do though was this should have gone out a little bit further. The doors should have been a bit lower, and so the doors would have had better weather protection. When I first built this and it rained, the water was basically coming off the bottom of this roof and dripping straight onto here, and then it would end up in the nesting boxes and we'd end up with damp, unhappy chickens. So I had to add this little drip bar. I don't know if you can see, but it's got a little curved profile on it. So now what happens is the water runs off here, it runs onto the drip bar, and the drip bar is just enough to keep it off the doors and keep the doors dry. I've solved it. It doesn't look nice, but hey, I'm stuck with it now. I'm not going to redo the roof. It's good enough. When building this, I also managed to make it too tall. Not too high. I'm very happy with the height. That works really well. But I made it too tall here. Being new to chicken husbandry, as it were, I didn't know how much space these things really needed, so I erred on the cautious side and built it really high up. The perch is somewhere, I don't know, about here, I think it is, and the chickens don't need that much headroom. It was somewhat unnecessary, and it makes it a little bit more unwieldy. We definitely could have got away with something which was somewhat shorter. When I built the dome, I somehow managed to make a bit of a mess up with the sticks. Basically didn't read the instructions properly, and the one thing I missed in the instructions was how heavy these things could be and how much weight the brackets would support. We got these supplied to us locally. It's sweet chestnut, because sweet chestnut takes a long time to rot. It's got quite good natural preservation qualities, so we got this sweet chestnut made up for us, and they delivered it as a sort of cut steaks, but we weren't clear to the people who provided us with the wood how heavy it needed to be. Most of the sticks were somewhere around between 2 and 3.5 kilos, I think, something like that. And I couldn't understand, whenever we built the dome, why the whole thing kept collapsing, kept falling in under its own, as it turns out, under its own weight. And when I bothered to go back through the manual and read it, each one of these sticks had to be a maximum of 0.5 kilo. So these things were massively overweight. So I enlisted my dad, and he came around and gave me a hand, and we sort of paired them all off and made them a lot smaller and obviously a lot lighter. Now the thing is, the wood itself over time gets drier and the moisture goes away, so we made these things light enough, but they're probably now a lot lighter than they need to be. They just weren't when we were building it, and obviously we needed it to be light in order to put the thing up and not fall down around our heads. Definitely should have read the manual. And finally, the last thing I'm going to say about this, well, the last thing we got wrong was the ladder up to the hen house. It works fine. Hens seem to stagger up there quite happily. The only thing is, in order to make sure we could get in and out, I put the ladder right over the far side and thought I was being very clever. The only problem is, sometimes we need to get to that right-hand door over there and obviously get in and clean things out, and it's right in the way. To be honest, I'm not actually quite sure what I would have done differently, but I'm sure if I thought about it long enough, there'd be a better solution to this. It's not quite perfect, it'll do, but yeah. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of our hen house and the dome. It was a really positive experience. It took quite a bit longer than I expected. These things always do, but it was well worth a go. And I'm sure, should I get the opportunity to build one of these things again, I'll know what I'm doing and won't make quite so many mistakes. But as you can see, it's functional, it works, and the hens seem pretty happy, which is the important thing.